Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good morning.
Assalamu alaikum, good morning.
I see 7 people, so I'm not sure if Mr. Hakim is here, so he can guide us on if the ministry group is online. So we'll wait for a few minutes, if you don't mind. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, again. Mr. Karimi, can we start, or you would like us to wait for a few minutes? I don't know.
Salam, Mr. Afif. How are you?
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. You know that yesterday we emphasized some time that we started 10:30 o'clock a.m. And so we can start it because our colleagues, 8 people at the least, I think that joined us. And you know that time is very short today. We can start it. We can start it. First of all, I want to ask you, Mr. Afif, what about the link of the coding? Because our colleague asked me, did you prepare the link of the coding, like link of PTT?
You mean the presentations, or you mean
The coding? No.
the recording of the sessions?
The coding of the session.
Yeah, Isa can answer on this. I believe we are live on YouTube and we are recording all the sessions from day one.
I know. I want to share the link because my colleagues want to download the section.
Okay.
Maybe he absent the 3 days ago, and he want download the link of recording of all of session.
Okay, no problem. Isa, can you hear me? Isa سمعني? Isa? No problem. I don't.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yes, the meetings are recorded, but only day 2, day 3, and day 4 are live on YouTube. We plan to upload all of them by the end of the program onto YouTube. But if you need it urgently, we may be able to download the the first day as well on YouTube. But for now, if you go to our YouTube channel, you can find day 2, 3, and 4, which is today, on our YouTube channel.
Okay. Just you can share your link to us. It's not okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, is that okay, Afif? Yeah, we can share the link. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Okay. Mr. Karimi, the thing is, on day 1, we didn't go live on YouTube. We only recorded locally.
Okay.
But so that link they can also share. So there are 2 options. Either they share the link or they upload on YouTube, and then you will find day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4.
I think that the second method is better.
Okay, no problem. Upload day 1 على اليوتيوب today. To share the YouTube link on the chat box, and then upload later today. Upload day 1 so that everything will be on YouTube and it will be easier for everyone. Okay.
Okay, great. All right, no problem.
Thank you. So, Mr. Afif, we can start it.
Okay, no problem. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
So yesterday we were talking about promotion. I don't know. I hope this Corona finishes and we can work face to face and see you, and because this is too complicated. Isa, if you can come just to my side of the office, Lando, I have no idea. I cannot see where I can share. Okay, no, it's working now. خلاص عيسى ماشي حالك. Sorry. It's okay. It's working now. So yesterday we said how we can do the promotion, and I think we had one question about one of the entrepreneurs in Afghanistan who wanted to do something in applications. I'm not sure if the gentleman who asked is with us now, But again, if you would like to bring that entrepreneur for us to council on next week, we're more than willing to do that. Now, after we finish the promotion of the program, people will start applying and requesting to join. The only requirement for them to join the program is that they need to fill an application, which is in front of you. This was shared with you in the reading material. So we need to, you can also add the logo of the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. You can add the logos of the different partners with you. This is really up to you, but I would strongly recommend to have at least the logo of the ministry. So the entrepreneur has to fill him or he, the name, male or female, qualifications, graduate, business school, mechanical engineer, vocational graduate, whatever, age, and then the contact details, the address, the mobile, and how did he learn about the Entrepreneurship Development Program. This question number 5 is very important because it will help us know which marketing tool is good. So if you publicize in one of the newspapers and you realize that 70% of the people applying to the program told you that we knew about the program through this newspaper, then this means that this is a good newspaper that you can rely on. Question 6, have you decided on your business idea, yes or no? In which sector, manufacturing or services? It could be we limit manufacturing or services, but you can also say handicraft, you can say in the medical field, tourism, so you can specify any sectors you want. Have you taken any steps so far? If yes, and then please explain. So some entrepreneurs would say, I have an idea to start an application company in Afghanistan, but I didn't do anything. But this shows you some of the entrepreneurial competencies, because if you remember, we said one of the entrepreneurial competencies is that entrepreneurs take the initiative, you know. Are you currently employed? Yes. Have you been in a previous job? Yes or no? And then what's the name of the company you used to work in? What's the nature of this experience? This is more or less the application form, and then he has to sign and then submit it. Now, if you notice, what will help us here is we're trying to get to know more about the entrepreneur. If you like, in addition to filling the application, you can also ask the entrepreneur to submit his resume or his CV also as part of the application. So all of this, the application will give us some more idea about the entrepreneur's idea, about his personal experiences, if he used to work as a banker, so which means he's good in finance, if he used to work in an IT company, which means that, you know, he's knowledgeable in the IT sector and whatever. So this is more or less the application. You can add to it, I think this is the minimum requirements. I don't believe you can take out anything from this application, maybe age. I don't know. Generally, we like to keep the age so that we know, you know, the quality of the group, how old they are, and, you know, they could be very experienced. So, so this is something, it depends on you, but I believe this is a relatively good application. Okay. Now, I want to do a quick presentation on how we select the entrepreneurs. So now we promoted the program. Entrepreneurs, males and females, have applied to the program. We have received their applications. So what happens next? So this is the outline of the presentation, the selection rationale, what makes a potential entrepreneur, the application form, the self-rating questionnaire, the selection committee, and the interview. So the theory, the international theory of entrepreneurs says that everyone has entrepreneurial skills and entrepreneurial capabilities. Some people have them stronger, some people have them weaker. So it's just a matter of developing that potential. You know, that's the only thing. Everyone of us has experiences and education, a background, a talent, entrepreneurial competencies, but people vary from one person to another. Some of us, I don't know, I'll give a quick example. Some of us would go to Dubai, maybe for 3-4 days, enjoy Dubai, and then fly back to Kabul. Others will go and enjoy Dubai, but at the same time, they will tell you, you know, Dubai, they're cheap in electronics. So maybe I buy 3-4 mobile phones, and I take them back to Kabul, and I send them, and then I make some money. So, you know, these people, both kinds of people are there, but some of them take the initiative, see the opportunity that I can do a few dollars there, so why I don't use it? You know, sometimes you could go to a conference in China, I don't know, you can buy a few electronic items and bring them and sell them in Lebanon or Bahrain or Kabul. So this really relies a lot on the human characteristics of the person. What makes a potential entrepreneur? As we said, and Dr. Hashim said briefly yesterday, 1 is education, 2 is experience. You know, what differentiates me from Mr. Hakimi or from Abdurrahman or from Isa is that my education, I studied business, he studied engineering, the experience that we live. If you notice, education and experience, you can get them from the application form, plus the CV, because he will tell you what's his qualification and where did he work, what kind of work did he do. Now, traits and habits and the entrepreneurial competencies, you can only get from the self-rating questionnaire, which Ghadir explained yesterday. Again, just to remind you, the self-rating questionnaire helps you quantify the different magnitude of the entrepreneurial, you know, how strong is he in innovation, in initiative? How strong is he in self-confidence? How strong is he in assertiveness? So the self-rating questionnaire will give you the internal psychological components of this entrepreneur. And for us, we rely a lot on entrepreneurial competencies. I don't really care much about the education, the experience. I care more about the entrepreneurial competencies, because if he has strong entrepreneurial competencies, you're going to have a strong, successful entrepreneur. We have seen many entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs, male entrepreneurs in African countries, in Sierra Leone. They're not educated, their experience is very minimal, but you see, you feel the power of them being entrepreneurs. And I know, and I've seen, and I've supported entrepreneurs in Sierra Leone who do not know how to read and write. And they have established very successful businesses in Sierra Leone. They did not make millions of dollars, but they are making enough money to sustain and lead a good life. So we have the application, we have the self-rating questionnaire, but the interview will give you all of the information. Once your entrepreneur applies, you will do self-rating questionnaire, and then you will do an interview. With time, you can move from not doing the self-rating questionnaire, but simply relying on the interview. And what you can do in the interview is ask some of the questions that you find in the self-rating questionnaire. The interview will give you the education of the entrepreneur, the experience of the entrepreneur. He will give you the traits and habits and entrepreneurial competencies. Because, and I'll give here a small example. We had a special program for women who work from home in Bahrain, maybe 6 years ago. And these are women who mainly cook. You know, they cook at home and then they sell their food using social media, using Facebook, Instagram, and whatever. Now I remember, you know, if you remember, one of the entrepreneurial competencies is problem solving. So we had an interview with one of the ladies, and I said, you know, what do you do? She said, you know, I cook from home. And I said, to who do you sell? You know, people have weddings, people have parties, so I cook for them and I sell my products. I said, very good. What's the maximum capacity? She said, I can cook for 50 to 60 people. And I said, that's very good. Assume I come to you today and I tell you I have a wedding and I need you to cook for 200 people. She said, no way, I cannot. I cannot, I don't have the time, I don't have the kitchen is not set up. I said, do you have a daughter? Do you have, she said, yeah, I have, but I cannot do that. I'm not possible. So we said, very good. She walked out and then we had a different lady who also cooks, and I asked her the same question. And she started laughing. She said, yes, I can. I will ask my daughter to cook the rice. I will ask my niece to cook the meat, and then I will, you know, mix them all together. So you see, this is one of the skills of problem solving. One lady did not see how she can solve the problem. The other lady did. So it has nothing to problem solving, entrepreneurial competencies have nothing to do with the education or the experience or, you know, it's something that comes, it's something from more or less is molded during your life experiences, and it's something that comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this shows you, you know, that this is why we focus a lot on the interview, because this is where you can feel more comfortable. I know in some countries, maybe in Afghanistan, I don't know, I've seen it in countries like Morocco, entrepreneurs prefer not to write, you know, fill an application and do the self-rating question. They prefer to talk. In other countries, they prefer to write. So accordingly, you need to have a combination. You need to fill the application form, do the self-rating questionnaire, and do the interview so that you really get an exact idea about the entrepreneur, his capabilities, and what kind of support that he will require. The application form we just talked about. These are the same more or less questions. An application form should also be accompanied by a CV if possible. If not, it's not a requirement. The self-rating questionnaire, which is 70 questions, I really urge you to do the self-rating questionnaire yourselves, just on you, so that you know if you have entrepreneurial capabilities or not. So once we, for the interview, we usually develop something called a selection committee. And the job of the selection committee is to identify the potential entrepreneurs who will be joining the program. And it should consist of the key stakeholders. So the ministry, the financial institution, if you have an entrepreneurship agency, etc., I don't know. In my view, in the case of Afghanistan, there should be someone from the ministry. There should be maybe someone from one of the universities. It depends. There could be someone from the Chamber of Commerce. There could be someone from financial institutions. This is something that you can give us your feedback on Thursday, and you can give us your vision on how you want to do that. But be very careful in the committee itself. You should not have more than 3 to 4 people as part of the selection committee. It shouldn't be 6, 7 people. It's not a court, you know, it's not a judging. It's a very simple selection committee for those who want to join the program, you know. So you're not giving him funding. If it was funding, then it's a completely different setup. The acceptance is simply for this entrepreneur to join the program and attend the training. So, but you know, we really need to make sure that we have a selection committee. It's advisable to have someone in marketing, someone in finance, because you need to know what are the requirements of this entrepreneur, you know, how much funding he needs, what kind of ideas he has. And during the interview, we'll talk a little bit about it. Everyone should be interviewed. There is no exception. Whoever applies to the program should be interviewed. And we don't sell false hopes. And this is what I told our friend yesterday when he said, I took the entrepreneur's telephone number, but I never called him back. So what happened at that point is he gave them false hope. You know? Any questions? Sorry. You know, so he gave him false hope that I work for the Ministry of Industry. I'm in the SME department. How are you? What do you want to do? Oh, give me your telephone number. I'll call you back. So this entrepreneur went home. He is very happy, telling him his mother and father, you know, I met someone in the ministry. They're going to help me. And then nobody called him back. So this is false hope. Do not do that, because you destroy these entrepreneurs. And at the same time, this breaks the confidence with the government side of doing things. You know? So
Hello?
one has to be, yes.
Yeah, actually, at that time, at first, hello and how are you for all? At that time that I speak with him, I also gave my number and EMCME number to Mr. that one that have idea of making application, that have application and the exhibition. Actually, he didn't call me also, the entrepreneur.
No, Abdurrahman, let me tell you, we're not judging you here. And I'm just using this as an example.
Yes.
Yesterday, even myself now, I cannot counsel this entrepreneur unless I speak to him and see with him. Let me tell you, one thing we have to know, and I'm not talking about Afghanistan.
Yes.
This is a global trend that we see in all of the countries we work in. There is a very big separation between the government and the youth. The youth do not believe in the government system. They believe that the government system is corrupt. They will not help. They only need information to know what I'm doing. So, and this we faced in Africa, in all Africa. We faced it in the Arab region. We faced it in China. We faced it in Turkey also. And in some places in Europe. You know, we worked a little bit in Italy. We worked in Cyprus. We worked in Uruguay and Latin America. There is this gap between the youth and the government. So this is why we're very happy that the ministry would, you know, has the SME department. They want to do entrepreneurship. So this will make them closer to these entrepreneurs. Yes, I can help you. No, I cannot help you. You can say no, you know. I don't know, in Islam, who said, I don't know, it's like he gave a fatwa. So, you know, you don't need to always, because I've seen it in many of the business counselors. The entrepreneur comes says, you know, I need $50,000. Yeah, easy, we'll get you funding. What do you mean we'll get you funding? We will see if we can get you funding. We will link you to the financial institutions to see if they are willing to finance you.
Actually, at that time, the Minister of MOIC said that we make a box of the access to finance for the MECME. Ministers told us at one of the committee, he told us that he make and he find the fund from another country or from the our country for the MECMEs. At that time, we told him, please come the MOIC, and we set your meeting with the boss, our boss, and another person that he makes something for you. And also we ask to him to bring his plan, what he have planned, but he didn't bring until yet for us.
Yeah, but let me tell you, Abdurrahman, let me tell you, one of the things, Shuf, and I'll be very frank with you. You will see the business plan. We'll give you one session on the business plan, the requirements of the business plan, and maybe we'll give you a small exercise that you do a small business plan. It is not easy for the entrepreneurs to develop a business plan.
Yes.
It is not easy for the entrepreneur to answer all the questions. Let me take a scenario. I want to do an application. You're going to ask me, do you know the technology? What's the application? Who will you sell it to? How much will you sell it for? How much money do you need? Where will you spend this money? Where will you find these skilled people to do the programming? How will you register on the App Store? What if you don't sell? What if you sell very good? There are a number of questions. Some of them are technical. I know how to do programming. I can answer you all the questions. But I'm not skilled in the business side of doing things. And you have to remember that most of your entrepreneurs have a talent, have knowledge. They know in cooking, they know in engineering, they know in application development, but they don't know the business side of doing things. So accordingly, this is why if you notice our program, we will sit with the entrepreneur to develop the business plan. We tell him, start filling the business plan, whatever you know, and then you come back to us. And then we sit with him and we go through the business plan.
Yes. Inshallah, at next time, I will ask him. Yes.
No problem. But let me tell you, and generally speaking, if an entrepreneur is able to fill the business plan and answer all the questions, then he is called a super entrepreneur.
Yes.
In your career, and I've been working in this business of entrepreneurship, SME development for the past 20 years, I have seen 1 or 2 super entrepreneurs. The thousands of other entrepreneurs we met are not super entrepreneurs. So the issue is you cannot assume that any entrepreneur who comes is a super entrepreneur. No, you have to assume that they are only talented, they know what to do, but they have no idea on the business side of doing things. On other areas, you might find an entrepreneur who's very good in the business side, but he's very weak on the technical side. You know, I come to you to Afghanistan, I say, I want to start something in agriculture. I have an MBA in business, finance, and I know how to develop a business plan. I know how to sell, where to sell. I know the cost accounting and business plan and cash flow and income and I know everything, but I don't know how to, do agriculture. Then you have to link him with someone, the Ministry of Agriculture or the Association of Agriculture, and then they will give him the technical support. So accordingly, we have to be very careful doing this. And what we will do with you is once we set a date for the first EDIP program in Afghanistan, we will work with you virtually or physically. We will be taking part in the selection. We will interview your entrepreneurs and we will give you advice. And then we will be part of the training program, the preparation and empowerment phase. Then we will be part of the counseling. And at the same time, what we will be doing in the coming weeks with UNIDO office in Kabul and the Ministry of Industry is to see financing possibilities. We asked the financial institutions currently in Kabul, microfinance or non-microfinance. We have to approach them. We have to see their requirements. We have to present to them our modality and see how we can cooperate. when we started in Uruguay in 2007, Uruguay, if you remember Argentina in 2006, I think, or 2005, the whole country went bankrupt. Uruguay is a small country next to Argentina, and they also went bankrupt. So I remember when we went to Uruguay, they arranged a meeting for me with one of the big banks in Uruguay. And I told them, you know, we have this entrepreneurship program and we want to support entrepreneurs. And so we would like to see if you can, you know, develop a special fund for these entrepreneurs to finance them and whatever. You know, he said the interest rate for any loan is 25%. So I said, but you know, 25% is a big amount, you know, so if you take $100, you pay it back 125. He said, yes, you know, he said, we know that. But we reached a certain agreement with them is that any entrepreneur who joins our program and is supported and assisted by us, the bank is willing to give them loans for 15%. And accordingly, in the first group of entrepreneurs in Uruguay, 20, we worked from Bahrain, and we went there several times. We worked very closely with this group of entrepreneurs. We took the top 3 entrepreneurs, we gave them to the bank, and then the bank financed one of them. The lady they financed, she has a flower nursery, so she plants flowers. Today, she's one of the biggest flower producers in Uruguay. So this needs a lot of work. This needs a lot of, you know, going into the detail of things and supporting the entrepreneurs. But the thing is, as long as you have a team who's willing to do that, you can be very successful, you know? So I hope I've answered your question, Abdurrahman, and I made you comfortable.
Yes, thank you very much.
No problem. So the duration of the interview, it should not be more than, honestly, it should not be more than 15 minutes. There is no need. Now, we say 15 to 30 minutes, but I think 30 minutes is a very long time to interview, especially if you have 70, 80 people. So 10 to 15 minutes is more than enough, especially if you have the application and if you have done the self-rating questionnaire. If not, interview 10 to 15 minutes, very simple questions can be answered. You know, we can also share some of these questions to ask in the interview, and then you can decide on that. I don't think it has to be 30 minutes. And the EDIP requirements is a business plan. We need the entrepreneur to come in to the interview with a business idea that he wants to develop. Questions to ask. When the interviewee had to work hard to convince or persuade someone. What do you mean by convince? The moment you start, let me tell you, all life for everyone is convincing people. You need to convince your wife, you know, not to spend too much money. You have to convince your son to study. You have to convince, I don't know, your boss to give you a promotion or to give you a raise, or, you know. So all of our lives are convincing people. For the entrepreneur, the biggest convincing is he has to convince the ministry to give him the license. He has to convince the bank to give him the funding. He has to convince the customers to buy from him. He has to convince the supplier to give him a lower price. So it's all convincing in negotiation. So if you ask these questions, can you give me one challenging case you faced? Same as the example I gave on the lady on problem solving. These are things that will allow your entrepreneur to open up and give you really his feeling. These things you cannot get in writing. You cannot get in the application. You cannot get in the CV. These are things that the entrepreneur has to speak about. When the interviewee felt happy with something he achieved, this will give you his satisfaction level, his you know, how does he feel, how does he think about things. What did the idea, when did the idea of starting his own business came, and what did he do about it? Some people tell you, I've been thinking about this idea for the past 5 years. So what the hell were you doing all these 5 years? Did you have any business plan? No, I don't have. So this means he doesn't have the entrepreneurial capabilities still. He doesn't have the initiative. He doesn't have the risk taking. He doesn't have the, you know, the seeking opportunities. I know many entrepreneurs, you know, they have 50 ideas. That's good. You can have one idea. That's also good. But the thing is, we need to identify and ensure that we have strong entrepreneurial competencies for these entrepreneurs. This I will skip because I will show you the document on that. Let me share this. Yeah, you can see now this is the selection scoring sheet. So what happens when we're sitting in the selection committee, each one of the participants of the, you know, from the judging side will have one document like this. He will put the name of the entrepreneur, you know, his name, the date, the name of the entrepreneur who's applying to the program. And then we score them on 6 main things. And the scoring is from 1 to 5. You can make it 1 to 10. It depends on you. You know, we just make it from 1 to 5. 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. The things we look at, there are 6 areas that we look into. 1 is personality. How is his personality? Is he open-minded? Is he closed-minded? Is he friendly? Is he not friendly? So these are the things we're looking at. Entrepreneurial potential. Does he have entrepreneurial competencies? Does he have the capability to run and start a business? This is based specifically on the entrepreneurial competencies. Clarity on the project idea and understanding of the business environment. How clear is his idea? And how much knowledge does he have about the business environment? You know, like someone, you know, the clarity of the idea and the understanding of the business environment. I hope, I don't know if I need to explain this, but is it clear? Matching between the educational experience, the educational qualification experience and the project idea. I come to you and I say, I want to open a restaurant. Okay? In Bahrain. What food do you want to cook? I want to cook Afghani food. Very good. Do you know how to cook? No. Do you know Afghani food? No. Why do you want to open an Afghani restaurant? Well, because Afghani food is very famous these days around the world. So I want to bring it. So these things we have to look into. Now, one of the things you can ask me is that, do you have a chef who knows how to cook Afghani food? I tell you, yes, I have. I know one. I have a friend, Mr. Hakimi, in the Ministry of Industry in Afghanistan, and he introduced me to an Afghani chef, which I will bring to Bahrain so that I can open the restaurant. So now, matching the idea, qualification, experience, you will give him a high grade on that because he's looking into the different components. E, resource mobilization, capability, including financial. How capable is this entrepreneur? He wants to start up a company for $1 million and he only has $10,000. How will he start this business? It's not going to happen, at least for now. So, and then during this discussion, you can see how flexible this entrepreneur is. One of the things that you can say, well, instead of starting a $1 million business, we can start it at $10,000 business and then see if this business will grow and expand, and then gradually you would reach the investment of 1 million. So these things you cannot get from the application, these things you cannot get from the self-rating questionnaire in general, and these things you cannot get from the CV. You need to have this discussion with the entrepreneur. Point number F is credit worthiness. Is he employed? How much money does he make? This is why I said you need to have someone in finance, because someone in finance can look into all of these setups and tell you, would he be getting a loan? Will they give him a loan or not give him a loan? Now, in the case of Afghanistan, if we have a financial institution who are willing to join this program and be part of this program, then that financial institution have to be part of the selection committee. Now, be very careful. The decision to accept this entrepreneur to join the program is not based on if the bank will give him financing. It's on the personality, the entrepreneurial potential, the clarity of the idea, is the matching of the experience, is the financial capability. So the financial capability is a small component, because I can come to you originally with the idea to invest $1 million. And then during the program, I might change my mind. Because when we start working on the business plan, I start to realize that this business is not going to happen. So which means if you didn't accept me, you are losing a very good quality entrepreneur. So this is why we shed different scorings on the different components that we look at. We're looking at an overall entrepreneur. Now, even if this entrepreneur is not good enough, he will not start a business, I have no problem. Let him join the program. Because when he joins the program, the interaction he will have during the training period, the interaction he will have with the different support institutions, with the different entrepreneurs, with the different government officials, it will build his capacities and capabilities and make him more aware about how I can really develop a good, successful business. So it's not, you know, you're not approving him to a loan. Remember that. Joining the program does not mean that he will get the funding at the end of the day. No, it's not correct. So what we do, we sum up all the scores for each of the judges. We do the average, and then I go back to the presentation now. Now, so remember, we do these are the things we're scoring. If your entrepreneur scores 25 on this selection, then your entrepreneur has to join the program. If your entrepreneur scores between 15 and above, he joins the program. If your entrepreneur scores below 15, then this entrepreneur does not join the program. But what is very, 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 very important is that someone has to call him. Someone from the selection committee or the coordinator of the program has to call him and tell him, you have not been selected for this group. We will be more than willing to do business counseling for you. So if you can come, you can come, and then he will come to you, you sit with him and you explain to him. You didn't score because your idea was not very clear, I don't know what, you know, so you give him feedback so that he starts working on himself, so that maybe in the second group, he can join, you know. Now, after the selection, as I said, we inform all who applied, those who are selected and those who are not selected, they have to be informed. And usually I'll say that. Give reasons why and what needs to be done. Those who are accepted to join the program, we tell them we're starting the program on Sunday from this time to this time. Now, I don't know if we told you this before, but all entrepreneurs who are selected to join the training program, the preparation and empowerment phase, they have to pay. I don't know if you heard this from me or Dr. Hashim before, but entrepreneurs who join the training component, they have to pay. How much do they pay? It depends on the country. In Bahrain, they pay around $250. In our program in Kuwait, they pay $450. In our program in Lebanon, they pay $100. In Jordan, Egypt, they pay $50. In Sierra Leone, they pay $10. So the idea for Afghanistan, I don't know. We can discuss this with you. Let me tell you why we take this money. We take this money because we only want entrepreneurs who are serious and who believe that this is an added value program for them. Because if you give this program free of charge, you will get thousands of applications. And most of them are people who are looking for a job. Because what they say, very good, the Ministry of Industry plus UNIDO, which is an international United Nations organization. So if I take this 2-week, 3-week, 1-month program, it's good on my CV. We don't want that. And we're not looking for people who want to get a job. Now we're looking for people who want to start their business. This does not mean that when you attend the training program, we will force you to start a business. But trust me, we had experiences in a number of countries where most of the people came just for the certificate so that they take it and go. This is not what we want. We want to waste our time with entrepreneurs who really want to start a business, you know, and achieve economic prosperity. So, and in many of the countries we work in, sometimes if the entrepreneur cannot pay the fees for the program, and we know, and we consult with the selection committee, and they tell you, you know, Afif is a very good entrepreneur, he has very strong potential, but Afif cannot pay the registration fee, we simply give it to him for free, we waive it. We tell them, khalas, don't pay, you just join the program, you know? So it's not really running after the money, but mainly running after commitment of these entrepreneurs to come and attend this training program. Because this training program is not theory, it is practical. It is how you can really develop a business in Kabul, how you can really develop a business in Bahrain, in Sierra Leone, in Jordan, in Lebanon, in Egypt. So it's not a university, you know, it's not something just for the fun of it. Support to Group C through counseling, and this is the group that I told you, as we assume that these people will not be selected, so there has to be some kind of counseling. There has to be some kind of feedback from the selection committee to this entrepreneur, so that this entrepreneur can start building up his capabilities, you know, once again, and potentially he can join. I know many of the entrepreneurs in Bahrain, some of them, they applied once, twice, 3 times. It's no problem, you know, as long as you keep the relationship with the entrepreneur. Okay, this is looping now. Okay. Any questions? Any comments?
No question and comment. I think it is very good.
Alhamdulillah. Did anyone start working on the questionnaire number 10, the national strategy, or you're not? because next Thursday they want you to present it. So hopefully you can start working on it. So now we finished the selection. We spoke about the promotion. Now it's 11. It's 11:30 in Kabul, correct? So now I want to move into another topic which is really important, and we want to talk about counseling. So counseling process. So you can see now my slides, introduction to business counseling and counseling process.
Yes, we see.
Okay. If you don't mind, I'll just take a 2-minute break. I have to give one of the staff some papers, and then I'll be back. Just give me 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back. Yalla, bismillah. So now, Isa, let's close the door. Okay, so now, most of the work that you will do in entrepreneurship is business counseling. Does anybody know what we mean by business counseling or counseling? Any ideas? Okay. So there is a big difference between counseling and consulting. Consultant, you go to him, you tell him, I have a problem in my business. He will come, assess this problem, and then give you the solution. Counseling does the same thing, but he doesn't give you the solution. He will work with you to identify the problem, identify the cause of the problem, identify possible solutions for the problem, help you pick up the right solution to take, and then he monitors and evaluates. So the difference between counseling and consulting is that the counselor will teach you the mechanism to do that, because we want to build the capacities of the entrepreneurs. We don't want the entrepreneurs, I don't want the entrepreneur, every time he faces a problem, he will call Mr. Hakimi, or he will call Abdurrahman, or he will call Maryam, or he will call whoever. No, we want the entrepreneur to gradually start to learn how to solve his own problems and to develop networks for him. Okay? Coaching, counseling, consulting, and mentoring, there are different definitions. The Americans use coaching a lot. In our part of the world, we use more counseling. In other parts, in the French, you know, the Americans now, they're moving in. It's all the same. It is all exactly the same. The idea is that an entrepreneur has a problem. We need to help him and guide him to solve this problem, whether through advice, whether through sharing tips, giving ideas, listening to him, and at the same time, encouraging him to take action. So you could be a business counselor or a mentor or a coach or a consultant, that you have all of these different features, but they're all serving the same thing, helping the entrepreneur overcome his problems and his obstacles. So you don't really need to go into detail of the definition of a counselor and definition of a mentor, and there is no need. It's useless. It will not add value as long as we're helping entrepreneurs. So what is counseling? Counseling is a relationship. I cannot counsel Abdurrahman if I don't know him, if I don't speak to him, if I don't sit with him. It's not possible. So this relationship is warm and genuine. It's genuine because I really want to help Abdurrahman. And it is sensitive on the entrepreneur. So if Abdurrahman is in a big problem, I have to be very sensitive. I have to give him the time he needs to help him. I cannot say, Wallah, Abdurrahman, I'm busy. I cannot, you know? So you have to really feel with the entrepreneur, and you have to think with the entrepreneur. Think with the entrepreneur and feel with the entrepreneur. Feel with the entrepreneur in what sense? Abdurrahman is an entrepreneur who has a business. But Abdurrahman, sorry Abdurrahman, I'm taking you as an example. So Abdurrahman is married, he has children, he has kids, and he also spends some money on his family. So I have to feel with him that now, since his business is facing issues, I'm not only destroying Abdurrahman, you're destroying the whole financial, social, family ecosystem. Because if Abdurrahman does not make money, his wife will not be able to feed the kids will not be able to go to school, his parents. So you have to really understand the background of this entrepreneur and where does he stand within this community. It focuses on feeling, thinking, and acting beyond fundamentals, going into the details of things. Trust me, with time, as you counsel entrepreneurs, you will start to know very personal information. I know I counsel so many entrepreneurs around the world. I know his issues with his wife. I know his problems with his brother. I know of a woman entrepreneur who came to me and said, look, maybe my husband is going to divorce me, so you have to help. So as long as you are warm and genuine, but let me tell you, be very careful. It's not your job to go and ask. If Abdurrahman comes to me for counseling, I don't ask him, how's the relationship between you and your wife? Do you have any problems with your brother? I don't ask this. But as long as Abdurrahman feels that I'm sincere and I want to help him, he will open up. He will see me as a friend. With time, he will see me as an angel, مثل الملاك, you know, like the malaika. You know, So you have to really make sure that you develop this very clean relationship with the entrepreneur to support him. Emphasize self-help. If I give advice to Abdurrahman and he doesn't listen, it's his problem. It's not my problem. Because some entrepreneurs are very stubborn. They don't want to listen. It's his problem. It's not mine. Choice. Emphasize choice. He has to choose. Either he takes my advice or he does whatever he wants. I cannot force him. And please don't force any entrepreneurs by telling them you have to do this. No, he doesn't have to do this. He does what he wants to do, and then he will bear responsibility. Counseling is a process. It's a relationship. It doesn't happen one day. It's a continuous relationship and a process that you develop with the entrepreneur. So counseling is a process that aims at helping entrepreneurs, not clients. If you want to call it clients, call it entrepreneurs is better. Make better choices and become better choosers. So what we're trying to do is to counsel them and support them and give them information so that they really know what is the best solution and how they can achieve it. The counselor's skills include forming and understanding relationship. I have to understand the capabilities of the entrepreneur, and the entrepreneur has to understand my capabilities. I cannot break a law. I cannot put pressure on the bank to give you financing. So back to the definition: and use of intervention focused on helping clients understand specific aspects of their feeling. Entrepreneurs, when they face issues with their businesses, they get distracted. So you have to always try to keep them on the ground, help them think, and help them take action, because the idea of the counseling is not just to have fun and enjoy the cup of tea or coffee together. No, this is not. The idea is to take action, think, and decide on alternative actions to ensure that the business overcomes its obstacles and its challenges. Now, businesses have different needs at different stages of growth. I will show you. Now, if you see this slide, this is a graph. If you notice, we're looking at the blue line is the month. You know, month 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the left one, the y-axis is the investment, profit or loss. So when your entrepreneur starts his business, he is spending money. He's investing his own money until he reaches a stage of break even, where this business starts to generate income. Gradually, his profits and sales will go up to a certain level, and then they will peak. So you start a shawarma shop, or you open a, I don't know, kebab shop in Afghanistan. You become famous. In 1 year, people start to come to you, and then you reach the maximum of that business. But what happens? Abdurrahman sees this shawarma shop and says, wow, that's a good business idea. So Abdurrahman will open next to you and then starts competing with you, and then your profits start going down because Abdurrahman is doing better. So accordingly, any business will grow to a certain level and then it will peak. Now, at the point of where you see the number 6,000, even before, even from the 4,000, 5,000 up to the 6,000, this is where the growth program should come in. This is where the growth program should come in. This maybe will become clearer. So before you start the business, it was the stage of idea. So in the stage of idea, what I'm doing with Abdurrahman, we are talking. What business do you want to do? I want to do shawarma shop. No, maybe I want to do a, I don't know, kebab shop. Maybe I want to do a big famous 5-star restaurant. or maybe I want to start, something similar to this, this bus restaurant that yesterday we were talking about. So it's only ideas. There is nothing happening at this stage. So the counseling here to Abdurrahman is mainly based on identifying the best idea or the most suitable idea he wants to take. The moment he decides on the idea, he starts the investment phase. And at the investment phase is where Abdurrahman would have finished the business plan, submitted to the financial institution, and he has gotten the financing regardless how much. But this is the area where we start dealing with the financial institution, making sure that the license is okay, the equipment he needs, the location of the shop, the staffing of the people is being done. So this is the investment phase. The moment you start breaking even and generating income, this is where the startup counseling is needed. During this point in time, Abdurrahman now needs to focus a lot on the marketing. So his requirements now from the business counselor is to help him in the marketing, in the promotion of the business so that more customers can come in. Stage 3 is growth. So you see, we start planning the growth in the early stages. As soon as we realize that this business is picking up gradually, we need to start looking at the growth program. What's next? What will you do to ensure that you remain sustainable? And this is where the level of maturity. Now the business reaches maturity. This is the maximum this shop in Kabul can do for you. So you have two options. Either you go through a growth program, or you just simply leave it as is. Competition will come in, you will get more and more competition, then you cannot sell. So we do a rebirth, which means a growth program to introduce new products, new services, or opening new businesses, or opening new branches in Afghanistan, or complete decline. And I will be very frank with you. If your business, talking now as if you're entrepreneurs, if your business starts to gradually go down, it is very difficult to recover because your competition is much stronger than you now. People are going to them. It needs a lot of work to revamp a business who's going into decline. It is very difficult to do that. So what is business counseling? Business counseling is teaching a hungry man on how to fish rather than giving him the fish. So we want to build the capabilities of these entrepreneurs and not give them the solution just like that. Isa. Okay, so counseling, as I said before, it is a simple problem solving where the entrepreneur is and where he wants to be. So an entrepreneur has a problem, we need to identify this problem. We need to ensure that the entrepreneur recognizes that this is the problem. Abdurrahman comes to me saying, Afif, my sales in the shawarma shop, they're going down. You know what shawarma is, huh? Doner, the Turkish doner. Going down. Why is it going down? Because, I don't know, I have a competitor. If he does not believe in that, then you cannot solve that problem. Identify all possible causes. Why are our sales going down? Determine the most likely cause. There could be different reasons why your sales are going down. Maybe the customers don't, have a change of taste. They like something else now. Maybe your price is too high. Maybe you have a competitor. List the possible solutions. what solutions could we take to overcome this drop in sales? But you have to ensure that the entrepreneur is really believes in the solution, choose the best solution that he is capable of implementing, and then plan actions for the solution, monitor, evaluate, and feedback. If we overcome this drop in sales and now our sales are going back up, it means that the business counseling, problem solving exercise was correct, and then the entrepreneur can continue. If we realize that our sales are still not picking up, which means that the whole counseling, the whole problem solving exercise we did with the entrepreneur was wrong. And then we have to start all over again. Now, these are, now, one thing you have to know, counseling, business mentoring is not something we can teach you. It is not something we can teach you. Neither me, nor Dr. Hashim, nor anyone. It is something you build the capacities in becoming a business counselor. It's like you can read all the medical books in the university, but this does not mean that you're a doctor. Unless you go and practice working under a doctor, working in a hospital, taking tests, you know, you can read all the law books, you know, the Qanun, you know, the all legal documents, but this doesn't mean you're a good lawyer unless you practice. So counseling, what we're doing in this counseling training is we are simply giving you guidelines on how to do counseling. There are many components that come within the counseling. It's not something we can teach you. It is all based on practical experience. The more entrepreneurs you counsel, the better you become more effective in counseling entrepreneurs. Now, with that being said, I'll be very frank with you. You're part of the TOT, which is the training of trainers. This is the first capacity building program we do. The second capacity building program is the business counseling program, which is a 5-day program that we provide in Bahrain. So the idea, hopefully with Corona, and COVID and travel restrictions, we hope we will be able to bring some of you from Afghanistan to Bahrain to attend a 5-day capacity building program on business counseling. Because the business counseling program, we do not give presentations. We bring 40 to 50 Bahraini entrepreneurs who are really in business and who are facing problems, and we do business counseling together with you so that you start to take these capacities and capabilities of business counseling entrepreneurs. I have trained so many business counselors around the world. Some of them became very effective. There is one business counselor in COSGAP. I don't know if you know COSGAP. It's the SME agency in Turkey. We have trained something around 100, 150 business counselors for COSGAP. I know many of them are doing very well. One of them, he took I gave him the 1-week business counseling training, and then he worked on himself, he developed himself, he stayed in contact with me. I gave him books, I gave him references. I even used to, give it, he would call me and say, I have one entrepreneur, he has this issue, how can I overcome it? I have an entrepreneur who's very stubborn and doesn't listen, what can I do? So we worked out on these. Now, mashallah, he is handling a COSGAP program for Syrian refugees in the value of 200 million euros. European Union gave funding to Turkey, mainly from Germany, to support Syrian refugees in Turkey to become entrepreneurs and start their businesses. He's managing a 200 million euro program, and he keeps on updating me. You know, we helped this Syrian woman, she opened a bakery. We helped this Syrian, I don't know, vocational guy who works in fixing cars and opening his company. So the more business counseling you do, the more you interact with entrepreneurs, the better your capabilities will be. There are certain stages in business counseling. Establishing rapport, which means this is the first meeting with the entrepreneur, explaining the nature and why are we sitting together, setting the timetable. You know, these are things I will leave to you. You can go through them. If you have any questions later on, I'm available. We can always ask them. But these are, it's very easy to explain these when we have practical entrepreneurs in front of us. There are four main components that make an effective business counselor. All of you can be business counselors, but to be effective business counselors, you need to have four main components. You need to have the analytical skills, the ability to do cost effectiveness, collect and weigh data, see the underlying problem, analyze things, be able to see the cost, the cause and effect. Because you need to help the entrepreneur to analyze and broaden his look, because entrepreneurs usually look at the problem from a very small angle. Your job as a business counselor is to see the big picture and help the entrepreneur to see the big picture. So analytical skills, you need to have analytical skills, the abilities to analyze and to do that. On the other side, you need to have interpersonal skills. You need to know how to deal with people. You need to know how to speak to these entrepreneurs. Some entrepreneurs you need to be very tough with. Some entrepreneurs you need to be very soft and lenient with. It depends. You need to know how to use the correct wording. You need to listen very well to the entrepreneur. You know, so those who have an interest in these things, body language is also an important component. Because entrepreneurs will give you a lot of information through the body language. What do I mean by body language? A gesture, a frown, a change in his movement. So this will give you indications on where this entrepreneur really stands. So again, you need to have analytical skills. You need to have interpersonal relations. Now, 3, you need to have environmental knowledge. What do I mean by environmental knowledge? You know Afghanistan, you know Kabul more than I do. So I cannot come and do business counseling in Afghanistan. I can do counseling in Afghanistan on technical issues, on how to make a shawarma or how to plant a farm. But I don't know the environmental, I don't know how things happen, the licensing. I don't know how the funding happens. I don't know even the behavior of the people. In what sense, you know? Do people, you know, if you want to open a restaurant, do Afghan people like spicy food or non-spicy food? You know, which with a lot of chili and spices. Do they or do they not? Do they like meat more or do they like fish more or do they like chicken? I don't know. So I don't know the behavior, I don't know the society, I don't know the culture, you know, of that country. So accordingly, you need to have an environmental knowledge. You know, unless it's technical in the sense that, you know, how you manufacture a pen. That is the same in Kabul, this is the same thing in Bahrain. Okay, and then 4 and final, you need to have wide frame of references. You need to have contacts with different people in Afghanistan, with the chamber, with the ministry, with the financial institutions, with the people who can support. So you need to have your own network. Okay, so developing effective counselor really relies on these 4 main components: analytical skills, the ability to analyze; interpersonal skills, the ability to deal and speak and to pass the message to entrepreneurs; environmental knowledge to know the country, the behavior of the people; and then references to know who does what in Afghanistan, and, you know, developing the connections within the country. Skills needed by the entrepreneur. We need the entrepreneur to be an active listener. He should listen. He should also reflect on what we are giving him, what advice we're giving him. He should be willing to take responsibility, because at the end of the day, the decision or the action he will take, it's his business, it's his money, it's his reputation. Asking the right questions. The entrepreneur has to be guided on asking the right questions, and he needs to have a deep commitment that if he comes to Abdurrahman for counseling, he's willing to listen to him. Ability to take initiatives, that he will go along, he will move forward with what he wants to do. The ability to connect the dots. The business counselor has to help the entrepreneur see the plan, the action plan, the steps that they will be taking, and the entrepreneur should be willing to learn. If the entrepreneur is not willing to learn and listen and understand, then there is no need to waste your time with him. You know, remember, self-help is the key in business counseling. Now, these are some common interview or counseling issues that we face, or problems. What are the problem areas in counseling? Because remember, the counseling is a kind of interview. So there are many faults that we realized during the years, is that the counselor is not prepared. Abdurrahman calls me and saying, Afif, I want to come and see you tomorrow. I say, yeah, you're more than welcome. Ahlan wa sahlan. You know, and then he comes and he tells me, Afif, I need $5,000. I need the loan, but I'm not a financial counselor. The financial counselor is someone else. He's Ahmed. Ahmed is not here. So what we usually do when Abdurrahman or any entrepreneur calls us saying, I would like to be counseled or I need to meet you, we need to ask him, why are you coming for? What's the problem you want to discuss? Because if I knew he needed a financial issue, I would have brought in the person in charge of the financial issues. You know, so the counselor has to be prepared, especially these days, entrepreneurs, they do not have the patience to wait, you know, talks too much. The business counselor talks too much. You should be very precise and very straight to the point. There is no need to talk about, you know, talk for 1 hour. If this counseling session can finish in 10-15 minutes, finish it in 10-15 minutes. If it needs 3 hours, extend it to 3 hours. But there is no need to talk and just waste time. Draws conclusions quickly. I met, you know, the entrepreneur, and then immediately I decide that this entrepreneur is very stubborn. He's not good. You shouldn't do that. Hears and sees only what he wants. Abdurrahman doesn't know. I know more. I'm the counselor. I understand this is not correct. And that the business counselor does not listen too much. He's a poor listener. 95% of the entrepreneurs who come to you with a problem, they know the problem, they know the solution, they only need is comforting. They need somebody to tell them, yes, correct. Your thinking is correct, go ahead. Trust me, you will realize this with time. 90% of your entrepreneurs know the problem, know the solution, know what that has to be done, but they're only coming for you to tell them, yes, correct, that's good, go ahead, okay? Allows interviewees to dictate the pay structure, which means lets the entrepreneur speak and speak and speak and speak and speak, and then giving you details of things that are not very important. So the job of the business counselor is to always guide the entrepreneur and ask questions so that they reach a certain stage where they know what the problem is, what the solution is, and whatever. Loses sight of the main objective because there's so much talking, there's not too much listening. they reach a stage where they don't know why they're sitting together. So one has to be very focused. This is the problem. What's the cause of the problem? What's the solutions? And then what's the actions to be taken? Poor in formulating questions. We need to ask open-ended questions. How are you, Abdurrahman? Very good. Alhamdulillah. How's your business? Alhamdulillah. How's your, I don't know what? Not good. This is not the questions we ask. Abdurrahman, can you tell me more about your business? Can you tell me more about your sales? Can you explain to me what happened to your sales? Why did your sales go down? So this will help so this will help, this will force the entrepreneur to speak, not to say yes, no, good, alhamdulillah, not good. No. If you ask open-ended questions, you're forcing the entrepreneur to say, my sales were good, now they dropped, this is what happened. So you need him to explain and to go into more detail. Interviewing skills, we will, these are the different kinds of questions you can ask. I don't know, somebody said he has to go, he has a meeting with the minister. How much time do you have? Because maybe I need like 20, 30 minutes. Okay, so we'll continue.
It's no problem. We finish 1 o'clock, 1 p.m.
So now it's 12 o'clock in Afghanistan?
12:10.
Okay, very good.
Now 12 and 5. In Afghanistan, now time is 12 and 5.
Okay, very good. So we're on time. Now, some of the things, this is the general, what I'm showing you now is the result of, I don't know, 15, 20 years of doing business counseling. So I called it do's and don'ts. Things you have to do, things that you should not do. This is only advice. In some countries, they might work. In other countries, they might not work. You know more about the culture in Afghanistan. So this is general advice that I give you. Arrange the office so that there is an atmosphere of comfort, warmth, informality, flexibility, and choose a seating should be provided. No. Let me tell you this in a few words. Most of the time, entrepreneurs come to the business counselor. Okay, so the entrepreneur is coming to the business counselor's kingdom, to the counselor's office, to the Ministry of Industry and Commerce of Afghanistan. He's coming to the UNIDO office in Bahrain. So I force and I encourage and in all my possibility, tell business counselors, don't only let the entrepreneur come to you, you also go to them. It is very important that you also, as a business counselor, go to the entrepreneur's business and see the business on the ground. This way you can see what is he doing, you can really visualize, like now I tell you, I have a business in manufacturing, watches. You will think of a big facility, people are wearing nice clothes and everything is organized and whatever. But when you go to reality, and I was shocked, I know entrepreneurs who make millions every month. And when I used to think about their businesses, I used to think, they're in these nice, fancy offices, everything is organized with very nice secretaries. And when you go them and see them on the ground, you will be shocked. And I remember many of these entrepreneurs, I gave them so much counseling on how to organize their office, how to look into things. It is very important to go to the entrepreneur. One, it will give him a sense of respect, that I respect you, I'm coming to you instead of you coming to me. I, as a business counselor, need you as an entrepreneur more than you as an entrepreneur need me. So this gives them a lot of motivational aspects, a lot of feeling that I'm respected, you know. Be friendly and natural while talking to the client, to the entrepreneur. You don't need to, you can be very straightforward, be natural. You don't have to act that you're very smart or you're very good. There is no need for that. Because if the entrepreneur does not believe in you, he wouldn't have come to you in the first place. So he's coming to you because he knows you can add value to him and you can help him. So there is no need to show off. I don't know if you understand what I mean by show off. I'm very smart, I'm the best business counselor in Bahrain or in Kabul or in Lebanon. There is no need for that. And entrepreneurs will sense that and they will run away from you. Cast aside unfinished business and concentrate on the job at hand. Okay? You cannot check your emails, play on your phone, drink coffee and counsel an entrepreneur all at the same time. Do not do that. Abdurrahman is coming for a counseling session for half an hour at 9 o'clock. He comes in, we sit face to face. 9:30, we finish, he leaves, I go and do other things. You cannot check your, and I've seen it a lot. Business counselors, they check their emails and the entrepreneur is talking to them, yeah, continue, I can hear you. This is not correct. Give him all the time you agreed with. Abdurrahman, I will counsel you for 30 minutes. This is the time, 30 minutes are only for you, Abdurrahman. If there is a need to send an email within the meeting for the entrepreneur or to do a phone call to someone, yes, this can be done, but you cannot multitask. I hope you know, I don't know what, you know, what they're doing like 3 things at the same time. You cannot do that at all. Say something to put the counselee at ease. You know, your entrepreneur is coming, he's stressed because he has problems, he's facing issues with his business. You don't need to scare him more. You simply tell him, no, take it easy, we'll find a solution, let's look into it. You know, so you have to give him some kind of sense of relaxation that we can work on this topic together. If Afif, I cannot help you, we will raise this issue to Dr. Hashim. He knows Dr. Hashim has stronger links. If it's possible, we can see a technical expert into that. So you need to build comfort for the entrepreneur without false hope. Without false hope. Whatever he says, accept it. Yes, I understand, Abdurrahman, this is what happened. Can you please clarify what do you mean by this? So you have to guide the discussion and be very polite and respectful to the entrepreneur. Find out what he considers to be important. You know, why is this, you know, because he has financial issues, he has financial obligations, or, you know, because this is his name, reputation, whatever. Let him tell his own story, let him talk freely without interruption if he seems so inclined. You know, if he's happy to speak, let him speak, give him the time he needs to speak, and then you can ask him questions and guide him so that you get all the information you need. Help him to see his own problems. Okay? What you did, Abdurrahman, with this decision was wrong. It's very good to do that. There is no problem of highlighting the mistakes that the entrepreneur did, or else he's not, why should he be coming to you? And always inquire and ask him, why did you take that decision? What made you take that decision? So this way you will start to understand and have a feel of what's the background of this entrepreneur. Be very careful to judge his actions. Judge Abdurrahman, what you did was wrong, is completely different when you say, Abdurrahman, you are wrong. What you did was wrong, which means the decision you took was wrong, but not you, Abdurrahman. Because when you say, Abdurrahman, you're wrong, it means you're destroying the whole person. No. Abdurrahman, you're a good entrepreneur, we know you, but I believe you took the wrong decision on that. Why did you take that decision? So this way you start building the confidence back and then starting to understand and realize, you know, how the entrepreneur really thinks. Be friendly, sympathetic, helpful, and don't take responsibility for the solution. It's not your job as a business counselor. It's not your responsibility as a business counselor to take the blame. Your responsibility is to help guide the entrepreneur. If he asks you a question you do not know the answer to, do not play smart and answer. Tell him, I don't know. I have no idea. You know, I don't know, but I know other people who will have the answer. So you link him with these people. Okay. Now, what we usually do, we develop some kind of an action plan with the entrepreneur. So tomorrow we want to do, you know, so that the entrepreneur knows what he needs to do and what's expected from him. You can give him books, you can link him to references, you can give him some documentation. There are many things that you can do to help the entrepreneur get more information on research. You know, like one entrepreneur can come and say, I want to manufacture pens in Kabul. A pen, you know, the one that you write with. But I don't know where will I get the technology. You can go to Google. UNIDO has a big document called How You Manufacture Things. So you can give him a link to that book. He can go through it and see how this, you know, manufacturing happens. So he has to do some of the work. You don't do the work for him. Name people, agencies interested in helping the entrepreneur. I can link you with one very famous financial counselor. He can help you, or with one technical entrepreneur, whatever. Observe signs of disappointment. These may be a clue to the real problem or may indicate that the discussion is covering topics Abdul Tawwab. Yes, Abdul Tawwab, as soon as I finish, I will share all the presentations that I gave today. I'll give you an example on observing signs of disappointment. I used to counsel one entrepreneur in Bahrain. No problem, Abdul Tawwab, for the spelling mistakes. It's okay, we all make mistakes, no problem. I used to counsel one entrepreneur in Bahrain. He was very good, mashallah. He was doing very well. We used to sit and counsel, and you tell him, do that, do this, and he used to do everything. And then I started to realize that, you know, this positive attitude is changing. It's no more, you know, we set up a counseling meeting, he doesn't come, or he comes late. You know, you tell him research this, he comes to you and says, oh, you know, I didn't have the time, I forgot, I don't know. So I went to him and I said, listen, you know, something is happening. You know, you weren't like that 2-3 months ago. So what's happening? Feel free, I'm like a brother to you. If you want to share with me, I'm more than willing. And I remember he opened up a topic and he said, look, I'll be very frank with you. Now with more money coming in, I'm making more money. So my family is living a better life. He has a wife and 2 kids. And now problems started between me and my wife. So I said, you know, on the contrary, if you're having more money coming into the house, it should be better, you know, not, you know, more money, the better, you can spend better. He said, yes, now my wife, I have nothing against women. Okay. So I said, I have nothing against women. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But he said, now the more I give, I put money into the house, the more my wife buys clothes, jewelry. So she changed. I said, very good. So what I did, I counseled him on a personal basis, give your money a salary. Not all the money you make, you give it to her. You say, look, I will give you a salary for you to spend on things you need for you as a woman. This is how much, $100, let's say. Agree with her, $100, that's it. So gradually, alhamdulillah, things moving back on in line. Now he, mashallah, became a millionaire, but alhamdulillah. So these things you have to look into. And he was willing to open up because he felt I really was treating him like a brother to me. So, this, let me tell you, counseling is very, very hectic and very tiresome, but at the same time, it's very rewarding as long as you like it. Counseling, not anybody can be a business counselor. It's a very special group of people who can be business counselors because you have to be very patient, you have to repeat things. And remember what's happening, everyone has his own problems. Then you have this group of entrepreneurs who come to you and throw their problems at you also. So now you have your own personal problems and then you have to look into the entrepreneur's problems. But it is something that is very rewarding, that some advice will create a ripple effect on the profitability of the entrepreneur and his life and his success. Review the steps you have taken to encourage, summarize the discussion, and I will tell you how we summarize the discussion with the entrepreneur. These are, general guidelines, things to do. I don't know, there's so much, but these are very straightforward things. Now, one thing which is, let me just, I need to find the, no. Yeah, now, one thing I would like to highlight, which is very important. I'm counseling Abdurrahman or Mr. Hakimi. He has a business, he has problems. Mr. Hakimi called me, he came, he sat, he told me his problem, and he left. I have no right at all to go to one of my staff members, to my friends, and tell them, you know what? Hakimi came to me this morning, he's facing a lot of problems in his business. You are not allowed to do that. In our case, in UNIDO, we signed a confidentiality agreement. I cannot disclose information about any entrepreneur to anyone. You can only do that when you ask the entrepreneur. So Mr. Hakimi comes to me, he says, I have financial issues, I need $20,000 to revamp my business, or else I'm closing down. Mr. Hakimi, I'm not a financial counselor. I cannot guide you on this, but I know Ahmed is a financial counselor. Do you allow me to speak to him about your issue? Yes or no? He might say yes, he might say no. But I cannot just wait for Mr. Hakimi to leave, go to Ahmed and say, Mr. Hakimi is facing problems. No, you don't do that. Confidentiality is very crucial. If the entrepreneur realizes that you are talking about his problems, his issues, his successes with people he didn't approve, then you're in a very big problem. Nobody will come back to you. You simply close down the entrepreneurship center and fire all the business counselors and go do something else. So confidentiality, the secret of the information, keeping your information to yourself is very important. Now, every time we sit with an entrepreneur for counseling, we must fill something called a counseling summary form. We put the date, the session duration, how much time did we spend with Mr. Hakimi, what's the name of, here we write Mr. Hakimi. Okay, so he came for, he's from batch 34, he came for whatever. Was it a telephone or a meeting? Now we added something called virtual meetings. Okay, because now we're not always able to sit directly with the entrepreneur. So we do telephone meeting, virtual meeting, email, whatever. Who attended this business counseling session? What did we discuss with Mr. Hakimi? Mr. Hakimi came to me saying, I need a loan for $20,000 because he wants to expand his production facility. Okay, this is the discussion. What follow-up did we agree? Now, very good. Mr. Hakimi, we want you to start working on a business plan for the $20,000 so that we can submit it to the financial institution. This is what Mr. Hakimi has to do. From my side, what I will do, I will contact the UNIDO offices in Japan, China, Korea, Russia, whatever, to try and identify the possible technology you can use in this expansion. Now with this form now goes into the entrepreneur's database. We have an online database which we can share with you, or you can do it as a hard paper copy file, you know. So now we know Dr. Hashim can come in and see, you know, what happened to Mr. Hakimi. He can open his file and see who's counseling him, what are the issues he's facing, what kind of support are we offering him. So it's very similar to what the doctor does when you go and visit any doctor, you know. So this is the counseling form, and these are very important to document, because, and I'll tell you this, we started doing this system long time back, but it all happened when Dr. Hashim was walking in one of the supermarkets in Bahrain, and one entrepreneur came to him and said, hello, Dr. Hashim, how are you? Oh, hi, how are you? How are you doing, my entrepreneur? Very good, but I have issues. He said, what issues? He said, you know, your staff are not helping. Okay, so, and then he came in next day and he called us and he said, you know who's helping entrepreneur X, which I saw yesterday in the mall, and he told me he was not happy. So what we started doing is that, you know, we started documenting all of these things, not only for Dr. Hashim, but also for us to know in time you will have a profile for each entrepreneur. You know his capabilities, you know his problems, his issues, because some of these issues you can later on develop. You know, like if you realize that 50% of your entrepreneurs have issues getting a license, which means we have a problem in Afghanistan to get licenses. If 70% of your entrepreneurs are coming for financial support, it means we need to develop a financial mechanism in Kabul. So all of these information that you collect will help you develop further the program, develop further the ecosystem, and develop further the services that are provided to entrepreneurs in Afghanistan. I know I have like 20 minutes, 25 minutes left. Now, this is what we call the business counseling process. When you want to develop the EDIP program or the Enterprise Development and Investment Promotion Program, and this is what I would urge, that in the ministry, you should have three types of business counselors: a marketing business counselor, a financial business counselor, and an administrative business counselor. Administrative business counselor is a counselor who helps the entrepreneurs in the legal requirements, registrations, the customs, you know, all the paperwork needed for the government. So if you're running an EDIP program, you need to have these three main business counselors: marketing, finance, and administration. If you're developing an EDIP program in the agricultural sector, that the whole EDIP program is only focused on agricultural projects, then you need to have a technical business counselor who knows about agriculture. If you have an EDIP program that will only focus on entrepreneurs who develop new technologies, you need to have a technical business counselor who knows about these new technologies. If you're looking at artificial intelligence, virtual reality, Internet of Things, robots, whatever, you need to have a technical business counselor, because most of your entrepreneurs will have issues on the technical aspects. Okay. Same thing if you have for fitness entrepreneurs, for creative, you know, like if we're running a program only for creative entrepreneurs, then we will go to Abdul Tawwab and tell him we need a technical business counselor, someone who knows about handicrafts, someone who has the technical skills in handicrafts, because we have entrepreneurs working in, I don't know, in carpet, you know, fixing, and they need technical support. Okay. Same thing for green entrepreneurs. You name the sector you want, then you need to have a technical business counselor into that. If you are running a woman-focused technical EDIP program, then you need to have women counselors. Family affairs, social, you know, I was doing a training in Egypt 3 years ago. I was training a group very similar to you. You want our, okay. Okay, you need my mobile, no problem. I will ask Isa to share my mobile and my email on the chat. Now, I was telling you, I was training a group of experts like you in Egypt 3 years ago. And then when I finished the training, you know, one lady came to me. She said, look, I work in this organization and I don't know what, and I like helping entrepreneurs. I said, yeah, very good, mashallah, that's good. She said, you know, I want to start my own business, but my husband doesn't accept. And her husband works in a very good company in Egypt and he makes good money. You know, he's an employee. So she said, every time I tell him I want to leave the work and I want to start a business, he tells me, no, don't do that. You will fail, you will lose money, and I don't know what. So I told her, look, honestly speaking, and she said, how can I, convince my husband to let me start a business? I said, I have no idea. I really have no idea. And at that time, we had one of our famous women entrepreneurs from Bahrain in Egypt. She was going, we invited her to come and speak to these trainers. You will be meeting her, inshallah, next week. We're going to bring her. Isa also put my email. You will meet her. So her name is Huda Janahi. So I told her, no problem. Huda Janahi is a very successful woman entrepreneur from Bahrain. She's coming. My advice, you speak to her. Take her advice. So she said, okay. I met Huda and I told Huda, look, this lady will come to you, one lady, she will come to you and she will ask you this. You advise her. By the end, we finished the program. I went to that lady again. I said, how were things? Were you able to speak to Huda? She said, yes. You know, she gave me advice. I spoke to my husband, and now I'm going to start my own business. So I went back to Huda and I said, Huda, what did you tell her? She said, no, this is a secret. I cannot tell you. So if you're running a program only for women, you need to have women, you need to have women entrepreneurs or women business counselors who can, make these women entrepreneurs feel at ease and give them some technical advice. Now, again, if you remember our program, this is our program. Again, these are the 5 steps, but I have put them in the form of counseling. So if you remember, we said you have Bismillah, preparation and empowerment, which is the first step of the program. How does it happen? We promoted the program. Potential entrepreneurs apply. They go to the selection committee, if you remember. Hope I'm clear. If they are selected to join the program after doing the interview, they move to preparation and empowerment, which is the training component, 2 to 3 weeks, it depends. If they are not selected, they will go to counseling so that we better improve their quality so that next time they can join. So once we finish the training, if you remember, we said we moved to business counseling. Each one of the entrepreneurs will have a team of business counselors who will help them to develop the business plan. I hope you're able to understand what I'm saying, huh? Is it clear?
Yes, it's clear. We
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No
so,
problem.
yeah. So when we finalize developing the business plan, the entrepreneur will be linked. Oops, sorry. The entrepreneur will take the business plan and go to the financial institution for financial linkages. If he does not get funding, we will go back to counseling the entrepreneur, knowing why did the bank refuse the loan, what can we do to develop the business plan further or the business idea further for him to get financing. If he gets financing, he moves into implementation, operation, incubation. This is where your entrepreneur starts developing the business. And then growth post-incubation counseling. We will guide the entrepreneur to develop a planned growth mechanism so that he can grow and expand his business. You need the different presentation. Isa, keep an eye on the chat and take all notes, please, so that we can later on address them. So in the planned growth, this is where we start working on a planned growth business plan. Again, we sit with the business counselors to develop a growth business plan. And then the entrepreneur implements, his business grows and expands, and he keeps on going through this loop. As you see in the bottom, reporting is key. And what I mean by reporting is the counseling form that I showed you a few minutes ago. Counseling network. In each country, you should develop your own network of counselors. Women, youth entrepreneurship, you need to have line ministries, NGOs, chambers, support institutions, banks, financial institutions, the investment promotion agency, the chamber of commerce, even other entrepreneurs. You can, as soon as your entrepreneurs start to be successful, you can start using them to counsel other entrepreneurs. Incubators, accelerators, resource and experts from universities or whatever. So you need to develop your own business counseling ecosystem. I believe what we have till now is a good starting point that, you know, the ministry should build on so that we can expand and better improve the ecosystem in Afghanistan and the support extended to entrepreneurs and SMEs. Generally speaking, this is the counseling pyramid. 95% of your entrepreneurs will get business counseling, which is the base in marketing, finance, and administration to develop the business plan. as the entrepreneur's business grows and expands, we start doing business counseling and linking him to other entrepreneurs, what we call co-entrepreneurs or co-entrepreneurship. As his business grows and expands, then we might link him to what we call mentors. Mentors is a high-end business counselor. It could be a very famous businessman, a very famous banker, a very famous legal officer. So all of these people we build up so that they can support entrepreneurs. So business mentorship is managing the relationship, encouraging, nurturing, teaching. The role of the business counselor is to guide the entrepreneur, give him accessibility, share information, provide feedback, and encourage the entrepreneur to do things. What's expected from the entrepreneur is commitment, which means that when we decide on something, he will do it. He will take responsibility. He will prepare himself. He will be open-minded, and he will accomplish things and do things. If there are no more questions, I know we still have 20 minutes. I have a very close friend who previously he's an entrepreneur who changed into becoming a very close friend. His name is Khalifa Al-Manna'i. Khalifa, are you online?
Yeah, I'm here.
Khalifa, I'll talk 2 minutes about you. I will give you your assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
So Khalifa is one of our entrepreneurs. He's into ICT applications. Abdurrahman, it's good to link him, your Afghan entrepreneur, with Khalifa. He's into applications and all of these things. And he does a lot of work for UNIDO now, Khalifa. Khalifa in 2016 was the Best Entrepreneur Award, took the Best Entrepreneur Award in Bahrain, which is given out by the Crown Prince of Bahrain. And he took a big sum of money as an award, and he's working into entrepreneurship in ICT for so long. Khalifa, you have 15-20 minutes. Our friends from Kabul have transportation in 20 minutes. So please,
no worries.
Go ahead.
No worries. So what I'll do, I'll just give a brief about the background and the UNIDO program as well, and then I'll just open the floor if anyone has any questions. So by education, I studied. So my name is Khalifa Al-Manna'i. By education, I studied business, communication, and financial regulation. So not within technology. And in 2013, I started my first startup, which was in virtual medical consultations. And then I shifted to more of the demand in the market, because back then there was no regulation within the region to support anything that was telemedicine. And we grew from there. So today we stand as an in-house development team and consultancy in terms of actually building systems and designing. That would include anywhere from startups to enterprise. And I still remember, so our offices were next to the UNIDO offices, and I walked into the UNIDO office. This was the first time. And I met with Dr. Hashim. And he said, "Tell me what you do." And then at that point, I explained, and he said, "So you're basically an entrepreneur." Of which then I started coming more into UNIDO, not only for guidance, but for also mentorship of what Afif was mentioning earlier. Things like it's for an entrepreneur, from my perspective, it's not usually the network that you require, but it's the understanding of how you would approach this situation and the options you have. Because the network naturally builds even if you're failing or succeeding. But understanding how to tackle the subject, learning from experience, to me, in my personal opinion, is much more important, because a network can be built, but exposure to previous experience and understanding cannot. And as as Afif mentioned, in 2016, I won the award for entrepreneurship by the Crown Prince. And since then, we've been just growing. And in 2019, I decided, you know what, it's time for me to venture out into another project. But I did not want to go far away from my comfort zone. So what we did was we actually built an application. So we became more B2B. But in other terms, it's more B2C. So we sell directly to end consumer. We don't customize and tailor and consult. And alhamdulillah, since then, we've just been progressing. But I think the value I took in that step was that I diversified what it is I do, the activities, even the streams of revenue and potential structure of how the businesses work. Back then, there was not much access to funding. There was no proper structure to raising money for investment, going through seed, Series A, Series B, and so on. So this is the other approach I'm doing now. And the first initial company I did was always through growing through revenue. So it took a much longer time to do, as opposed to actually doing it through raising rounds, which is what I'm doing now. Since then, I've also worked with, so we've become part of the UNIDO alumni, what I like to call it. And since then, what value I took from them and I found valuable, I would then build on with my experience and then give it back to the entrepreneurs of tomorrow. And I think this is the perfect formula in terms of compounding knowledge and experience and just giving it down to the next generation of entrepreneurs. And that will allow them to scale faster than we did and reduce the failure rate, because they'd be learning from our mistakes. That being said, does anyone have any questions? Because I know I want to be wary of time, and I know sometimes these things can go on for long without us being cautioned.
If I have a question, because Shuf, I know our colleagues from Kabul, they're connecting from different places, and we have a group in one room, and it's difficult to interact. Khalifa, you started your business before you came to us, and then we supported you.
Yeah.
What added value did we give you?
Okay. So when you look at
assume you never came to us.
Yeah.
Can you compare, if you came to us and you didn't come to us, where would you be will you much better now without approaching us? Will approaching us help you to grow? Go ahead.
No. So I just want to start by saying approaching you definitely helped me to grow. But if you ask me, what's your plan? Where will you be in 3 months' time as an entrepreneur? I genuinely don't know. It's because of how many times we have to pivot on the day and move that we don't. But that guidance throughout helps significantly. When I started, it was a difficult time for me because I wanted to do something innovative. Innovation wasn't at its peak in the region, let alone the world, when it comes to what I wanted to do. You need to help me actually understand the model and how I can actually apply it. And then they also assisted with building a network that I can utilize. But it's also the day-to-day of how you should manage your business and things you should avoid, which in turn brings opportunities, because every entrepreneur, his daily goal is achieving opportunities. And it's not your average brick and mortar business where you put ads, you sit in the shop and you wait for people to come and buy, or you depend on foot traffic. So it's that reach and that medium of how to reach these people that greatly affected me. Does that answer your question, Afif?
Yeah. And I also want to highlight one thing. Khalifa works in the technology, and he's a techno entrepreneur. And technology means, you're developing new concepts, you're developing new applications. it's not like you're opening a restaurant where people will come and eat, and people will always come and eat. You know, you're not opening a gym where people will come and you promote and you say, I have the best training facility, whatever. You know, technology is a very difficult field to work in. The ecosystem in Bahrain supports technology, maybe not to the level of US, UK, whatever, but you know, you have to look into these areas. I know Khalifa, today he's in Bahrain, tomorrow he's in the UK for 3-4 days, quarantining, then coming back, going to Dubai, you know. But I can tell you from a personal point of view, if I wish I can, you know, visualize that, but Khalifa 10 years ago is not Khalifa today. This 100% tell you.
100%.
And every time you speak to Khalifa, you tell him, you know, what are you doing? Oh, I have 3-4 ideas. I'm working on these 2-3. You know, he always has something coming up. He always has something happening. And yeah, and to be the #1 entrepreneur in Bahrain and take the Crown Prince's Award is really a very big motivation. And it wasn't easy. I know there were so many people who competed for this award, and then Khalifa was really able to take it and move on. Khalifa, do you have any advice to our potential business counselors on what?
I want, if you'll allow me to say this, Afif, I think, you know, what you just said made me reflect on the reality of the situation. Whatever I came to you guys with, regardless of how crazy the idea was or how crazy the strategy was, you brought me down to reality, but you never discouraged me. And I think that if you were to come and say, where would you be without me and what added value? I think, to me, in my personal opinion, that's the strongest value you added, because regardless of how crazy it was, regardless of where I wanted to reach, you never said, okay, don't look at it now, look at it in 3 years' time. Right? Everything was achievable. It was just a matter of determining how. And I think that's what makes your program completely different from not only other programs, but your traditional methods of helping businesses, feasibility studies. And if I wanted to give something for potential counselors, is that this is very valuable to me as an entrepreneur. When I come in for support, it needs to be realistic, but everything can be done. And regardless of how far-fetched the idea seems, there's always a way to actually achieve it to a certain extent. Does that make sense, Afif? I don't know, because I don't know how to visualize or explain it. It's actually interactive. So
no, let me tell you, you touched exactly on something that I said this morning. And usually entrepreneurs who have innovation technology, they're usually, what we try to do is to bring them down to the reality of things and to give them the business side of doing things, you know, especially innovators. You innovate things, you develop new concepts, you believe you will sell all around the world, people will need it, but then business comes in and says it's doable or it's not doable, it's sellable or not sellable. And the proof is that you have so many patents registered, free for anyone to take, that they're there, nobody's using it, you know? What you said falls in line exactly with what I said this morning. And one thing I say to everyone, Khalifa is into innovation. He has his own personality, his education, his background, his family, his traits, his habits. So you deal with him one way. I cannot deal with Khalifa as I deal with someone else, maybe in the same field. I have another entrepreneur in ICT that I'm more strict with him, because I know Khalifa is the kind of person who comes for counseling for 5 minutes. He comes in, walks in without taking an appointment, saying, I have one question, I want to do this, should I go ahead? We say yes, he leaves. Then 3-4 months down the line, you find him, he comes back again saying, you know, it worked, it didn't work, I'm doing that. Some entrepreneurs you really need to guide every single day. Khalifa is the kind of entrepreneur you don't need to guide every day. You just give him one shot of counseling and then he flies by himself, you know? So you have to be, this is why I said in counseling, you have to really start to know and build the relationship with the entrepreneur, you know? So Khalifa, I don't know if someone has any question in the chat or direct question. If not, then I thank you once again, Khalifa, for your time. I know you're extremely busy.
My pleasure, anytime.
I don't know if you're traveling tonight or traveling tomorrow.
COVID has, grounded me.
Okay, very good. So
Grounded me and grounded a lot of work. So it's proportional.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. Maybe, inshallah, soon God will overcome this issue.
Inshallah. I say this is the time for us to prepare. So as soon as things go back to normal, you're well energized, you go back and you work double the time. So for the next year and a half, you have to work double to compensate the year and a half of just, not being as active.
Inshallah, inshallah.
Allah. Thank you, Afif, for this opportunity
No
again.
problem. You're more than welcome.
And regards to the team and Dr. Hashim especially.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So our colleagues from Kabul, I think I've done. We have finished what we were supposed to give you today. I just hope if Mr. Hakimi can confirm that on Sunday there will be someone who will present the ecosystem at 1 o'clock Kabul time, so that if not, then so that I'm aware and we arrange a speaker from our side to give a session on the training.
Ms. Afif, thank you for the presentation. Mr. Fazal Rahman Panda, who worked with us, is my colleague. He was prepared. He will be prepared in Sunday, and he speak about ecosystem of our ministry and how much directorate, how can help to SME, and he will be speak for us.
Very excellent, 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 excellent.
And for today, I think that done. Thank you for your information and thank you for presentation.
Thank you very much, everyone. We wish you a relaxing weekend. Please work on the document number 10 during the weekend, so that next week, if you want any guidance, any advice, we can do that. My colleague Isa has shared in the chat all the presentations and documentations that I gave today for you to have a look at, and I also believe they have shared the YouTube file for you to watch. If there are no questions, I will leave you and wish you a pleasant weekend and see you on Sunday, inshallah.
Yeah, I want to tell our colleagues we vacation for 2 days, Friday and we started in Sunday. Yeah.
Yes, we will see you on Sunday at 1 o'clock Kabul time.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone. We'll see you on Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.